Fake animated stories. By now, you know the drill. Super fake stories get animated, and then they fiercely defend the notion that the stories are true. But in reality, they're not even a little true.
They are the furthest thing from reality.
Also, they get like 1 billion views and make stupid amounts of money because of that.
We now had the motive, but the next stop on this never-ending train ride we call life was the crime.
I've pre-sifted through some of the absolute insanity in order to save your eyeballs a little bit of torture, and I've settled on this one right here. My life living in a golden house. Oh, hello, I didn't see you come in there. Today we'll be watching this cult classic. Now right off the bat, I'm gonna say living in a pure gold house would be a horrible idea. Gold is one of the most conductive elements in the world, so lightning storms would be even more terrifying. Aside from having a price only a gold-hoarding dragon could afford, gold is extremely malleable, so it just screams structural nightmare. So gold would be a horrible material to build a house out of, which, thinking about it, makes sense why we don't see any gold houses in real life.
I stood there nervously watching, waiting for the big reveal. A huge blanket was hanging over my house, keeping it hidden from sight.
Let me get this straight. There is a giant blanket capable of covering your entire house, keeping it out of view right now. Yeah, this doesn't sound made up at all.
The story so far was making no sense. How could a giant blanket be placed over an entire house?
And the blanket dropped to the floor. Wow! Just wow! My house was made of gold.
We already went over earlier why that's completely and totally unlikely. Also, can I comment on the voice acting for just a minute without sounding like a total jerk? But why is it so monotone? You just had a gold house revealed to you by having a giant blanket pulled off of it, and your reaction is, wow. Just wow.
What do you think of your house?
It's amazing. But before I go on, make sure you like and subscribe.
Nope, I don't think I will.
How did I get a gold house?
Yeah, that's definitely one question that needs answering.
Well, let me start at the beginning.
Oh, mixing it up a bit by starting at the beginning. I like your style, kid.
Ever since I was a young boy, I had always been into adventure. By the time I was in my teens, the urge for adventure had become like an obsession to me.
It had become my obsession.
Everything I did and everywhere I went, I was looking for excitement.
I'm getting some weird stab you in the eye with a hypodermic needle while walking downtown junkie vibes off of this dude. The neck scratching is freaking me out just a little bit. So this video is taking a really long time to say they were taking a trip to Mexico and he was excited. Then some epic voice acting by his mother kicks in.
My parents looked at each other skeptically.
I don't think you're going to find any treasure, Tom.
And we're slapped with ad break number 1. Well, technically it's ad break number 2 because of the pre-roll ad, but you know what I mean.
I pleaded with them to let me go off on my own, and eventually they gave in and agreed to let me. The following morning, straight after breakfast, I set off with my map and some provisions in my rucksack.
Let me get this straight. Your parents saw nothing wrong with allowing a young child to go on an adventure by himself in Mexico with a map he made up. I think a more accurate name for this video would be My Parents Abandoned Me in Mexico and I had to report them for blatant neglect.
Behind our hotel was a mountain range, and it was rumored to be filled with hundreds of hidden caves.
Whew. Oh, good. I thought this young child would be doing something dangerous. Luckily, he's just exploring dark caves in Mexico by himself. Totally safe. Yeah, nothing bad could ever happen in one of nature's most deadly natural formations.
I felt sure that I would find something interesting in there.
There's that arm scratching again. I'm starting to think he came to Mexico just to meet up with the cartel, all Breaking Bad style. Either that or this whole video is just a bad drug trip.
The passageway led deep inside the mountain, too far for me to be able to see the end. I was just beginning to make my way inside when suddenly about a dozen spears shot out of the rocky wall and blocked my path.
No, they didn't.
I noticed immediately that I had walked through an infrared light.
The classic laser tripwire in a dark cave that shoots spikes out at you. You know, that thing that definitely exists in real life.
Suddenly, I heard a noise coming from above me. A huge boulder was hurtling down towards me.
I'm convinced now, more than ever, that this is definitely just a bad drug trip that he's having while watching Indiana Jones. There's no way they can be trying to peddle this as a real animated story, right? So, in a feat of truly uninspired story writing, he finds a giant door. Luckily, the mechanism to open said door is right beside the door and operates on the same principle as that toy that teaches children what shapes are. Horrible security system, because literally anybody over the age of 2 can open your super secure secret locked cave door, except one piece is hidden way up on a ledge, and just as he reaches for it, we're slapped with another ad break.
It had become apparent that the only thing that mattered with these animated stories was making money. The validity of the story itself didn't matter in the slightest.
When I saw what was behind the door, I nearly fainted. The room was filled with tons and tons of gold.
Wow, what a plot twist. I never would have guessed he would have found piles of gold in a story about a golden house while exploring some ancient Mayan ruins.
Mom, Dad, I found treasure.
What did you find?
This is the thing nightmares are made of. Why? Just why? Who okayed this design choice? So the nightmare-fueled fever dream continues, and the biggest thing to throw me off throughout the entire thing so far is when he states, they melted all the gold down and transported it out of the mountain. I'm a little bit curious. Number 1, why melt it down before moving it out of the mountain? And 2, how? Did you bring a refinery or a smelting plant into the mountain with you? That doesn't even make any sense. Why wouldn't you just transport it out of the mountain and then bring it to a foundry to have it melted down?
They melted all the gold down and transported it out of the mountain.
Your house may be made of gold, but it's built on the foundation of lies.
Where were they going to store it? It was while I was watching a TV show about a character who lives in a house made of cheese that I came up with the idea.
So your inspiration for how to store your priceless gold came from a cartoon about a mouse living in a house made of cheese. This story is just painful.
I told my parents what I had thought of.
Mom, Dad, I've decided to sell all the gold and buy a house made of cheese.
We should make a house made from gold. No one will question where we got the gold
No
from.
questions at all would be asked about this totally normal thing. Instead of putting some in the bank, maybe put some in a safe or sell some of the gold and invest the money. You know, the normal, non-questioned things, such as building a house made out of gold. I won't make you sit through all of this. Essentially, they build a house out of gold using an amount of gold that could easily fit inside the house. I'm not entirely sure how the physics all add up on it. And then we're hit with another ad break. We must be close to the end of this video. I mean, he just got his golden house. Okay, you wait right there while I speed run through the rest of this video. I've got a gut feeling that there'll be a surprise twist that makes watching this video worth it. I'm still banking on the bad drug trip idea.
Began to chip away at it.
I don't believe it. The house is built just like any normal house, only it has a thin layer of gold paint over everything.
Oh wow, shocker. The builders didn't use the incredible building material gold and instead built your house out of normal building materials and then laughed at you all the way to the bank.
It turns out the characters were too stupid to be able to tell the difference between paint and gold. Also, they appeared to be stupid enough to think a house could be built out of gold.
But when Dad got home,
What do you call a nutritious...
Oh man, there's a surprise around every corner. Another ad break. Who could have seen that coming?
Don't lie. Tell us now or you're going to regret it. Okay, I'll tell you. Just don't hurt me.
we ran out to see what it was. We couldn't believe it. A van had crashed into our garden fence. I could see a man getting out of the van.
I called it. I knew this was a Breaking Bad thing all along, and they just brought in Heisenberg? True story.
Brian!
They even named him Brian, as in Bryan Cranston, the actor who plays Walter White in Breaking Bad. Yeah, this is a definitely true story. It gets more and more true by the minute.
We will tell everyone that you stole the gold from us. I don't have the gold.
What do you mean you don't have the gold? The worker told us he gave it to you.
Yes, that's right, he did. And I threw it all into the ocean.
What? Why would you do that? You idiot!
Oh yeah, they're ramping this story up. I can feel it. Big climactic ending coming our way.
You crossed me on that gig, and I ended up spending the last 10 years of my life in jail. I've been waiting to get my revenge on you, and now I've finally done it. This is your payback.
I looked at my parents' faces. They both looked distraught.
Oh, well, I guess not. It just kinda ended. Now, was this video Oscar-worthy? Yes. But that's more indicative of where the Oscars have been lately and not reflective of this being high-quality material in any way, shape, or form. Thank you for joining me in this reading of this very true and definitely real story. And now I must bid you farewell.